My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, after praising Allah subhanahu, just to get back up to speed with the topic at hand, if you remember, just 2 weeks ago, we were thinking about and pondering on the welcome that we've been given into this world as human beings by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal, He created man in the best of molds. He fashioned us in the best of ways and distinguished us among the creatures of this world in a very, very special way. Beginning with Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him with his own hands. There were only 4 things that Allah Azza wa Jal created with his own hand, and of those 4 creatures, our forefather, the first of us, was one of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He provided for us tools, unique tools, hearing and sight and intellect to distinguish between things, good, bad, hot and cold, right and wrong, beneficial, harmful. We've been created in a manner that puts us at the top. At least we've been given the potential. We can blow that, and we can become like the animals that we go visit at the zoo. That's one of the things that distinguishes us. We've been given the choice. We've been given the choice to take advantage of the blessings that we have, or to squander and waste them, and all of that will be taken into account one day, sooner than later. Living up to our potential, setting lofty aims and objectives, this is our conversation at hand. So I want to try something new today. I want you to be a little more involved than normal. So I'm going to mention to you 3 hadith. 3 hadith of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while I'm mentioning them, and I'll give some small explanation as to what they are, if required, I want you to try and identify a singular theme as it pertains to our current topic. So you have to be awake, and you have to be tuned in. The first of these hadith, this is narrated by both Imams al-Bukhari or Muslim. This particular wording is found in Sahih Bukhari. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-yadul ulya khayrun min al-yad as-sufla. Wabda biman ta'ud." He says here at the beginning of the hadith, the upper hand is better than the lower hand. Al-yad al-ulya khayrun min al-yad as-sufla. The upper hand is better than the lower hand. This is a metaphor. The upper hand is the hand that gives in charity, extends help, seeks to pull up those that are down. The lower hand is the one that takes, the one that receives, the one that extends and asks, help me, give me, I want and I need. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that the upper hand, the one that gives, the one that helps, that extends and makes sacrifice to see to the needs of others, is better than the one that receives them. Yes, there are times when perhaps we can't give, but we need. And there's no doubting that. We have zakat. That's built into the framework of our faith, addressing the realities of this world, that there are ups and downs. There are times when you can give, and there are times when you must receive. But the Prophet ﷺ, he clearly said, the one that gives is better than the one that takes. And that sadaqah should begin with those dependents. And the hadith goes on. The second hadith I want to share, also reported in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, لو يعلم الناس ما في النداء والصف الأول ثم لم يجدوا إلا أن يستهموا عليها لاستهموا. Says if the people knew the reward for calling the adhan and for standing in the front row, and they found no other way to get that except by drawing lots, and they would certainly draw lots. Meaning if it came to the point where we were head to head, there were 5 or 10 of us trying to make the adhan. Here we are. Who's going to, no, I want to do it. No, my turn. No, I want to do it. Or standing in the front row. We don't have a problem with that now. We have empty real estate still available. I can easily find 5, 6, 7 spots just ready for the taking. If we came to the point where, and he says, if the people knew, if they but knew the reward, the goodness of these two things, they would rush to do it to the point that they would have to draw lots to allow someone to go. He says, وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي التَّهْجِيرِ لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي الْعَتَمَةِ وَالصُّبْحِ لَأَتَوْهُمَا وَلَوْ حَبْوًا. He goes on and he says, if they knew the reward of dhuhr prayer in the early moments of its stated time, meaning to offer dhuhr as soon as it comes in, not to delay. It's easy to delay dhuhr. Why? Especially for us, we're at work, we're on the job, we're busy seeking the provisions of this world, and so it's easy to put off that prayer. He says they would race for it, they would go early, and if they knew the reward of Salat al-Isha and Fajr, they would also pray in congregation, even if they had to crawl to get there. Obvious and clear. The reward in the front row, the reward to make the adhan, the reward to make your prayers on time, and to do so in congregation, it's greater than its opposite. This is number 2. Number 3, and this hopefully, if you're paying attention, you have a theory perhaps on what the singular theme is of these hadith. And this third one, we'll drive it home for you. And then you can raise your hand in your heart and say, oh, I know the answer. The Prophet ﷺ, and this hadith reported by Imam al-Tirmidhi, it's authentic hadith. Prophet ﷺ, he says, فِي الْجَنَّةِ مِئَةُ دَرَجَةٍ, that in paradise there are 100 levels. ما بين كل درجتين كما بين السماء والأرض. The distance between every 2 levels is equivalent to that which is between the heavens and the earth. وَالْفِرْدَوْسُ أَعْلَاهَا دَرَجَةً. Firdaus, you're familiar with this word, is the highest level of paradise. وَمِنْهَا تَفَجَّرُ أَنْهَارُ الْجَنَّةُ الْأَرْبَعِ. From that level at Firdaus is where the 4 springs of paradise gush forth. He says, وَمِنْ فَوْقِهَا يَكُونُ الْعَرْشُ. Says above that is the throne. It's the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the arsh. It says, فَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُ اللَّهَ فَاسْأَلُوهُ الْفِرْدَوْسِ. So if you ask Allah, then ask Him for Al-Firdaus. Firdaus is the highest level in paradise. The rivers, if you will, the springs, they are there, supplying the lower levels with drink. Above that is none other than the mighty and grand throne of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So what's the singular theme in these hadith? They could be seemingly unrelated. One was about giving charity. One was about the adhan, sitting in the front row for prayer, coming early, congregation. And then one's about making dua, asking Allah for paradise. Seem to be all over the place, right? Covers a lot of material, but there's one theme that binds them all together. And this is not a theme that you only find in these hadith, but you find it throughout the prophetic tradition. You find it throughout the Quran, in fact. That theme can be summarized in a fourth hadith, reported by Imam al-Tabarani. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Inna Allah Ta'ala yuhibbu ma'ali al-umur wa ashrafaha," that Allah loves the most lofty and honorable of things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves the most lofty and honorable of things, and He goes on and says, and He despises that which is lowly and menial. That which is lowly and menial. Think about it. Those three hadith I mentioned, hoping you would draw that out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam pushing us to aim high, to run after the best, to achieve greatness in this life and the next. The first hadith, he didn't say that the one that receives is better than the one that gives. Let's go ask for handouts. Don't try to improve your condition, but just be average and hope others will help you. No, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said the one that gives is better than the one that receives. Which means you have to be in a position to give. You have to be in a position, most of us, not all of us, more times than not, we're in a position where we don't do either. We're not set up to give, and alhamdulillah, we're not receiving, we're just getting by. We're stuck on average. We're stuck on average, right? Just, I'm paying my bills, I'm taking care of my little things, I'm doing some little niceties for my family and stuff, but I'm not actually having a positive impact. Stuck on average. It's easy to become complacent with average because you're not doing bad and you're not having to push yourself to do great. But Islam, our tradition, asks more of us than average. It's like I'm always 5 minutes late. I'm always a little bit late. I'm not a lot late, so people aren't terribly offended, but I never really make it on time because my attitude is complacent, just getting by. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves for you to be an achiever, to be great. Yeah, it's a minority of people that do that. But if it wasn't for the achievers, if it wasn't for those that aimed high and were shooting for the stars, where would we be as an ummah? Our history, as I said before, speaks for itself. You see from the companions, the development of the state, how rapidly it spread across the known world. You think that came from people who were satisfied with average? No, they were happy with that before Islam. The Arab tribes in the peninsula, they were happy with average before Islam. So they were stuck in Arabia. They were happy with their trade routes. They were happy with their local politics. They were happy with their personal positions of power and authority. They were satisfied. So you know what? People were shocked. They were blown away when the Muslim Ummah challenged the world. and conquered? What brought those Arabs out of the desert to conquer the world? What is it that brought them out of that? It was this theme. It was this singular theme that runs throughout our book, the Quran, and our beloved prophet's tradition, that you should be aiming for the stars. You should be seeking to achieve greatness. If you want to be exceptional, you have to do exceptional things. If you want to be different than the average person, you have to do different things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has inspired this ummah with this message. The early generations, this was their creed. It was their motto. It was their mantra, to be great. And so today, a lot of times we find ourselves just being proud of the fruits of their labor and saying, guess what? We have a book called 1001 Inventions, where it highlights all of the inventions and the contributions of the Muslim world to modern day times in math and science and biology and architecture and art, and to the end of it. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to achieve great things. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى ونصلي ونسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Now that we got that out of the way, and that's an extremely important point, extremely important, the next exercise is the same. And this one will help us learn how to achieve greatness. So I'm going to mention to you the same 3 hadith, different ones of course. And I want you to try and identify the theme in these hadith that will lead us to properly setting lofty aims and objectives and achieve a greatness through that. The verse of those hadith report in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Man hamma bi hasanatin falam ya'malha kutibat lahu hasana." He says, who intends to do a good deed but does not do it, one good deed is recorded for him. If you intend to do a good deed but you don't do it, a good deed is recorded for you anyway. You didn't do it, why? Not because you were playing a little game thinking you were going to take some freebies. Just, I'm going to sit down and think about all the good deeds that I could be doing and just intend to do them and just actually sit here and not do them. No. But you wanted to do something, but just, it didn't happen. Something got in your way. Something was out of your reach. Something prevented you from it. You were making the effort, making the attempt. Not only did you have a niyyah, a salihah, but you were ready to act upon that, but you were prevented. You'll be rewarded for the intention. Something you wanted to do, just couldn't quite get there. The next hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is reported in Sahih Muslim, he says, "Man sa'ala Allah shahada bisidqin ballaghahu Allah manazil ash-shuhada wa in mata ala firashi." This is powerful. This is powerful because this is talking about the pinnacle here. He says, whoever asks Allah for ash-shahada, which is martyrdom, and they are true and sincere in their request, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise them to the level of the martyrs. even if they pass away on their deathbed. Died in your home, in the hospital. No chance, no opportunity, never came up, couldn't go, couldn't do, right? The opportunity is not there for us. Right? That's a very, very particular opportunity to serve in the armed forces. Legitimate service, by the way. Not rogue, renegade service, but legitimate. So out of that sincerity, something that was just out of reach, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward those who are sincere. The last one, which hopefully will seal the deal. Hopefully you're getting a theme now with these two. The last one should bring it on home for you. The Prophet ﷺ, it's been reported in Sunnah Abi Dawood, he says, مَا مِنْ إِمْرِئٍ تَكُونُ لَهُ صَلَاةٌ بِلَيْلٍ يَغْلِبُهُ عَلَيْهَا نَوْمٌ إِلَّا كُتِبَ لَهُ أَجْرُ صَلَاتِهِ وَكَانَ نَوْمُهُ عَلَيْهِ صَدَقَةً. It says there's not a person who offers prayer at night regularly, but on a certain night are overcome by sleep. They regularly offer the night prayer, but one night out of the blue, they were tired, long day at work, stress, exhaustion overcame them, and they couldn't wake up. They couldn't wake up for that Salatul Layl. The Prophet ﷺ, he says that he will be rewarded the same reward as if he prayed, and that the sleep that he had is a sadaqah. It's a charity. It's a charity from Allah. Something that you wanted to do, just couldn't quite get there. What's the theme of these hadith? And there are numerous hadith, numerous ayat that they indicate the same thing. And that is that a man's reach should be just beyond his grasp. A man's reach should be just beyond his grasp. What does that mean? That means you should be constantly seeking to do one more, to do one up. Right? We see here the person that wants to do a good deed, but they couldn't do it. They ran out of time, ran out of money, were stopped or hindered, which means that they must have been doing them enough that I just can't quite do it. The next one about the person that wants the shahada, never has the opportunity, but they want it, they have a desire. They have an objective, a lofty aim, but because of circumstance, they just can't get there. And then lastly, the prayer, the person they want to stand in the night as they normally do, but circumstances get in the way and they're unable to do it. It's like this. When I sit down in the morning as an exercise, as a habit, and I schedule the things that I need to do for that day, I'm going to sit down and think, okay, I have some goals. I have some achievements that I want to see to the end of. So I need to manage my time and my efforts, and I need to make a schedule, a task list. So I'll spend 15 or 20 minutes in the morning just as I'm drinking my coffee and eating my donut or whatever, my roti and my whatever I'm eating. So I write down 5 things. What happens when by Dhuhr I finish those 5 things? So, vacation. Done for the day. Or should you be thinking, let me put enough on this plate that I'm going to get to the end of the day, there's going to be 1 or 2 things left. You're not going to have 5 things you completed by Dhuhr. You're going to have 10 things. And you're going to get to the end of your work day or the end of the hours you've allotted for these things, and you're going to say, oh, I got 8 things done. I've accomplished 8 of these goals, and 2 of them I'll stack on for the morning. Because my aims and my objectives are too lofty to just be going at an average pace. I want light speed. I want to get it done, and I want to get it done in the best way. The Prophet ﷺ, in a very, very famous, this is min jawami al-kalim, by the way, from the comprehensive speech the Prophet ﷺ was blessed with, he said, Saddidu wa qaribu. Saddidu wa qaribu. You memorize those two words. Saddidu wa qaribu. They balance each other out. It means take aim and get close. Saddidu wa qaribu. Saddidu means take aim. The Prophet ﷺ, he commanded Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu that when he was going to embark upon something, he says, just like your arrow, when you draw it back on your bow, you aim for the bullseye. You aim for perfection. You aim for 100%. You don't go, you know what? Let's just throw this thing out there and whatever comes, comes. Bismillah. Mashil hal. If you know what that means. Mashil hal. That means let it ride. That means whatever. That's not the attitude of someone great. That's not an acceptable attitude for a believer. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not the attitude that as a community we can afford to have. If we've had it, it's time to get rid of it. We can't afford to do that anymore. We need to aim at that bullseye. And that bullseye needs to be set far away. Our goals, they need to be lofty, extremely lofty and high aspirations. And then he said, qaribu. Well, qaribu means get close. Right? If you can't hit the bullseye, then at least you'll get close to it. If you can't get 100%, then at least you're going to get a 95, you're going to get a 90, you're going to have a grouping right there. If you're into archery, you're concerned about the grouping, not the one. Off chance you got the bullseye. Right? You want that all of your actions, all of your deeds, all of your aspirations, they are on target, they are guided, and you are achieving, I should say, you are living up to your potential. The potential that Allah Azza wa Jalla blessed you with and distinguished you with in comparison to the rest of His creation. And there are some marvelous creatures out there. Marvelous creatures. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us and bestowed us with potential beyond all of that. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in this life and in the next. Continue to keep us safe and our families in good health. We ask that He cure those of us that are ill, to set us free, those of us who are bondservants to others, financially and otherwise. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.